Um, all right, this should work. This looks like this works. Let's see. If not, I'll have to get my 14-year-old down here to fix it.
Yeah, looks like you're on. And there's a video of this kid.
Oh, perfect. There we go. All right, perfect. Now we're back up. And I got video, and it looks like I can see everybody. So we hide that. All right. Okay, do we have anybody? Did we lose everybody, or did
I'll probably activate find the video.
All right, this should work. All right, now I can hear myself. All right, so I see James is back. James, can you hear us and see us? Did I get this figured out? All right, James says it works. All right, and Bill Barkley's on. It says it works too. All right, sorry guys. I've been working for since I got off the with Keith last week on this new setup, and it while it looks cool, it's taken me a few ins and outs. I had to go. I run off of Apple computers, and the Canon doesn't support Apple. So I went out and had to move to all PCs. And then Thursday night, was it Thursday night or Wednesday night? Apple does the patch to where they can work on Canons. So I've been mucking with it all week. So all right, we got some folks in. So okay, thanks guys for sorry again for the delay. So thanks for coming. I hope everybody is having a good weekend. We last week, if you didn't get a chance to see last week's show, last week's was one of my favorites so far. It was so much fun. I want to start off with a quick thanks to everybody who pitched in for the WD French brand deal. I sent the first round of paperwork off on Thursday of this week, and the $200 research fee. You have to pay a fee to find out if anybody owns the brand, but you can do that online yourself. But you have to pay them to do it. So I want to give a quick shout out to everybody that gave us some money. Christina Grant, Sarah Augustine, our friend Chris here. Thank you much, Chris. John Bentley, Vic Nadata at Gemini Artifacts, Stephanie Bowles, my friend Ryan Roth, Kara Johnson, and James Corbin. I think it's funny that this is Greeley, Colorado history, and I had two people from Greeley contribute, and I also had two people from Ireland contribute. Two people from all the way from Ireland, Christina Grant and my dear friend John Bentley. So we're still doing that. It looks like it's going to be a process. I've got 3 or 4 more rounds of paperwork to fill out. So if you're interested in that, watch last week's. And if you didn't see last week's, you go back and watch it. And my Venmo is at the Mystery Collection. Some real quick housekeeping before we get started. The next week is Vince Wilson and Paul Prater, two of my dear friends from way back. Paul Prater and I were supposed to do the Black Magic 2020 tour starting back in late March, and it got canceled, as did everything else. We're going to hopefully do that in the fall or maybe next spring. And Vince Wilson is a dear friend who runs the Poe Theater in Baltimore, Maryland, and does some Edgar Allan Poe themed tours and ghost hunts. That should be fun. And then on the 14th of June is Dacre Stoker, the great grandnephew of Dracula author Bram Stoker. If you buy also the 38 blocks, my effect through Gemini Artifacts, all of them should be shipped by tomorrow. I talked to Vic this morning, and he said to give everybody an update that the last of them should go out tomorrow. If you bought one and you buy one between now and next Sunday, that you'll enter it into a drawing to win one of Vic's Dracula books, Gemini Artifacts Dracula books. So I think that's it for housekeeping. Oh, look forward to a special announcement. It may be a special weeknight mystery collection conversation with Adam from the Black Monarch. We've got some announcements coming up for the mystery collection weekends at the Black Monarch coming up pretty soon. So, all right, enough of that. I put the keyboard and the mouse away, and we'll get back to that. Means that's official that I'm done talking business. So, when I performed at East Coast Spirit Sessions this past January, and I hadn't been there for a long time, and they gave me the list of people that I was going to be performing on a show called The Stars of Bizarre Magic, and I knew everybody on the list. I'd met him, but Chris was one of the names I had heard, but I had not met him before, and I knew we were Facebook friends, and we had traded some messages, I think, back and forth. But I had never met Chris in person, and I was so excited when I got to do a show with him. It's unlike anything you've ever seen before. And we're going to get into talk to that. But Chris hails from Michigan and is part of the paranormal. Tell us the name again. I'm going to butcher it. I have it written down, but
Sorry, it's the Detroit Paranormal Expedition
Perfect, perfect. And so then I'm gonna. Soydan is a friend. We've been friends for several years. We were introduced to each other by our friend Aiden Sinclair, who lived in Cheyenne for a while, and now is I think he's now a citizen of the world. I said that because he's watching. So I don't think he has a home. I think he's a citizen of the world. But Soydan is a creator. Last week I was lucky enough to have the guy who was the inspiration for my WD French routine on. And then this week I have the guy who actually invented the routine that I do for my WD French. So Soydan is a dear friend. I'm glad to have both of you. So Chris, kind of give us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you got where you are today, where and what. Aiden just chimed in. So tell us where you're like what you're up to and how you got to this point, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Geez, where do we even start? Gosh, I guess when I was younger, in fact, my birthday's on Halloween.
Oh, rad.
So
Rad.
from birth is where everything starts, I think. But as a kid, I was fascinated by UFOs, ghost stories, Bigfoot. I remember going to my library when I was like in third grade, checking out books on this stuff on psychic phenomenon, especially like the Time Life books. Those were always fascinating. And also, for one of my birthdays, I was gifted a magic kit, which kind of, I guess it kind of started there. I didn't really pick up the magic as passionately as I am now with it. But I was more passionate with more the psychic phenomenon and paranormal things as it kind of also, being the youngest of three, I learned the survival tactic of overacting to I guess, to the best way. So I've always had like a performance nature. Being the youngest of three.
Hey, Chris, I've had a couple people mention real quick. I got a text from my wife watching upstairs, and a couple people have sent me messages that they're having a hard time hearing you. So if you could turn up your volume or talk a little closer to the mic, let me see if I can fix the volume on your. I can't do anything on it. So if you could just talk a little bit louder, perfect. Okay.
All right, yeah, is this better? A little bit closer?
If it's not, somebody will tell me.
Okay. Yeah, so in fact, as I was saying, I've always, being a kid, grew up with it. The youngest of three, and I looked up to my little brother, Tim, and he was the one that kind of introduced me into horror films. And then from that, he was getting into special effects, where he wanted to actually go into making special effects for horror films. And so he would pick up any low budget, high grade horror film. In fact, also my dad would allow me to go to the library and collect videos for the weekends when he would pick me up, because he'd work third shift, sleep during the day. He figured it'd give me something to do. So I grew up watching horror films as well and collecting comic books. So I guess I'm like a sponge. I just kind of take it all in. I guess that's kind of where it all started. Is from that. Then I went to Catholic school as well, like you, Paul.
Well, I didn't go to Catholic school. I just grew up under the church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, I actually went to Catholic school, and it kind of that set me on the path of like focusing more on other religions, I guess, which fascinated me, because I didn't feel like there's so many people in the world that one religion just can't encompass them all. Many people have different beliefs. Some people don't have any beliefs, but it made me fascinated in that sense of different theologies. I'm also a fan of both like vaudeville, Marx Brothers. I grew up watching the Three Stooges, Addams Family. It just kind of all of that incubated into what this is, I guess, now.
All right.
I didn't start performing, in fact, until I would say about 13 years ago. And that's primarily started with sideshow arts. taught myself how to juggle honeymoon with my ex-wife, which I would figure that's probably why she's ex-wife.
Yeah, if you spend your honeymoon teaching yourself to juggle, that's a.
So, in fact, and like I said, I've grown up different in my thinking. I consider myself different as well. So I always thought what was different was the circus of the sideshow. It has a darker atmosphere to it, darker side, more seediness to it, at least in the performance aspect. Some of them, depending on the circuses, the sideshow performers were kind of not treated well, especially the royalty of the sideshow, which would be the natural freaks and things like that. But I'm digressing on that. In fact, I built my own meta nails. Actually sought out a teacher, Harley Newman.
Yeah, Harley Newman. Yeah.
Personal lunatic. I had the opportunity to take his out-of-the-U course in performance, which after that actually accelerated me into being more of a storyteller, wanting, like, I guess before that it was just kind of like background fodder entertainment of what I was doing. After taking his class, it made me want to be a better performer. It made me want to focus more on the reasons why I'm performing, instead of it just because some of the other performers that I perform with, it's just kind of watch me do this.
Right.
This type of thing.
You know, and I've said that I've said that on this before. Is that's one of my problems with magic, is that, you know, with magic in general, is that, you know, the performers are, watch what I can do, watch what I can do, watch what I can do. Here, let me show you how clever I am. Let me show you how. And, you know, we talked about this earlier in the week, the three of us, about the importance of the story, and that's kind of where I want this to go. This conversation to go is the importance of the story. So I appreciate that a great deal. So Soydan, you've got a story. You're not. I think I introduced you at the Cheyenne Comic-Con, as you can tell from as soon as Soydan says something, that he's not from here. I think I said you were from. I stole the Luke Germain line that you're not from here. You're from Texas. But Soydan, you grew up and you're from Turkey.
Yes.
And if everybody can hear, let me know if you're having a hard time hearing, because if you're having a hard time hearing, I'll muck with it.
And yeah, I was born in Turkey, and I've been living in the United States for 10 years now. Funny thing, we missed our flight on the way back here now with my wife, Tina, and I arrived here on Halloween.
There you go. You came for Chris's birthday.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I was born in Turkey, and I kind of started magic. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but.
So Soydan, I'm getting that you're too quiet too. So I'm wondering if it's not something on my end. Let me.
I might be able to bump it up a little bit here. How is that? Is that any better?
Everybody gets to see me working on the thing here. So.
Are they able to hear me now, or is it still low? I kind of raised the level a little bit.
Okay, they say that mine is really loud, so let me turn mine down. Maybe that has something to do with it. So I've got a new. So Bill Barkley asked if I had any sort of audio compression. Bill, if you'll tell me what that means and what I need to do, let me know, and I will muck with that. Okay, muck. Bill said it's better now that I turned mine down. So
Okay.
maybe that was the problem. So
I can turn it up a little bit more if I need to.
all right. So all right. How's that? Is that a little bit better for everybody?
Are you guys able to hear me now, or?
Lothar, so Lothar says I'm still loud. Lothar, I'm always loud. Unfortunately, I'm gonna try to work on that. Um, so yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know.
Let me grab my mouse and take my Zoom settings too.
Um,
Yeah, I can always turn it up a bit more.
um, microphone, speakers. All right, I think we're just gonna have to have you guys talk a little bit louder. I'm not finding anything, so we're just gonna have you yell or scoot up next to the microphones. I'm sorry. I'll work on this and see. So yeah, use your outside voices.
All right.
All right, sorry guys. So Soydan, I'm sorry. Get back to what you were saying about the.
So, yeah, I was about probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old. There was in Turkey, there was a kids magazine called Bando, which means band or like big band. Um, and in the middle of the magazine, they would have 2 pages of magic. And I kind of started, learning tricks from that magazine. That's what got me interested in then watching some of the Turkish magicians on TV. It was, I don't know, I started performing for family and friends. Um, and I think not the attention, you get from that, but what got me more interested in it, seeing the amazement in people. And something, unnatural or extraordinary happens, the reaction you get from them, what, got me more interested in it than anything else. It was cool to get the attention because I was a really shy kid. I mean, all the way to my, I don't know, I was 18 or 20, even up to 20. I was shy all the time. And, so that does feel good, but at the same time, like I said, that reaction you get from people, that amazement, that what made me really like magic. I thought was really cool. It's not, it's I don't know, it's a different kind of feeling than, compared to anything else. But then I lost my mom at around age of 11, and I remember just for some reason I stopped. Yeah, I lost completely interest in magic. I think everything kind of fell away for me at the time. So I lost interest in everything. Basically, we can say.
And how old were you? I'm sorry. How old were you?
About 11.
Okay.
And then what happened? Okay, so this is a kind of interesting story. Actually, the way I restarted in magic happened because of a friend. He's one of my closest friends in the world. He lives in Turkey. Timur is his name, and he was watching Chris Angel on TV when his first season started. And he would keep telling me this guy is the real deal. I don't believe any of this stuff as tricks. He is really doing what he's doing. I'm like, there's no such a thing. Being the skeptic I am, I guess. And he's like, well, prove it to me. And I started researching him and his tricks, and I couldn't quite find what he was doing, but I started remembering that I used to do magic. So I started showing it to him first. Because of basically a challenge, I started, kind of having interest in magic again, and started performing for friends. On the street, I would have something with me, a deck of cards or whatever, and we will be hanging out late at night, and I would just show them tricks. But at the time, there are no presentations or nothing. They're just tricks, and that kind of got me restarted. Um, but today, what I'm doing is way different than what I have been or how I started magic. They were all classic, tricks that we kind of all start with. Um, Now, with some call it bizarre magic, seance magic, or whatever you want to call sort of stuff I'm doing. It's coming from watching horror movies like Chris was talking about, and being having interest in comics is a great source too. I mean,
Well, good. The three of us are brothers. We all got comic books and horror movies. That's awesome. So I always ask people, and I believe that you can judge. I believe you can judge somebody on their answer to this question. What is what's your favorite horror movie?
Oh, that's a hard one to pick.
What movie would you judge your horror movie cred on?
That's a hard one to pick. Maybe Chris should answer first if he has an answer.
Well, I'll give you. You can have a couple. You can have a couple. Maybe a couple. Don't have to come down to one. Mine is always Rosemary's Baby. Always comes to mind. Rosemary's Baby is, I think, one of the greatest movies. Not just horror movies. I think it's one of the greatest movies ever. But I also really like the original Chainsaw Massacre, and I also think that Cabin in the Woods is a perfect horror movie. I think Cabin in the Woods was a perfect horror movie.
Yeah, I would have to go with The Exorcist as a classic.
Yep.
Gosh.
Well,
I guess I have like different John, I also love John Carpenter's his Apocalypse trilogy, which would be The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and About the Badness. Like I love those two movies. Are great too.
All based on H.P. Lovecraft ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon. I was just talking about this movie. That doesn't come across as horror. It comes across more as sci-fi. But that is a terrifying movie. That is a very, very scary movie. The original Bill Barkley timed it. The original Suspiria. Absolutely. That I haven't seen the remake, but the original. Terrifying.
The remake is amazing.
Is it good?
I saw it in theaters.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Recommend it.
All right, Soydan, we stepped on you.
Duke is my one of the favorite movies, probably, especially if we, it's somewhat recent, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been quite a few years, but I really love that. I thought it was terrifying. But there are two movies that comes to my mind had a huge impact on me. Not because of what kind of movie they are or what kind of story they have, but one of them is Pet Sematary. Made me hate horror movies.
Okay.
When it first came out, we had a neighbor that they would watch, or they would rent horror movie, VHS cassettes at the same time, at the time, all the time, and we would sometimes go visit them, and they will be watching. And I never forget, throughout the whole Pet Cemetery, I literally put my fingers like this to cover my eyes, and with my thumbs I covered my ears, and I would try to kind of look to the movie, between my fingers. I couldn't watch it, and I was keep thinking, why would they make a movie like this? This is horrifying. I didn't want to watch any horror movies after that. And then in 80s, when it first, well, this is still 80s, but when Nightmare on Elm Street came out, that was my kind of an attempt to watch horror movies again. Again, that movie terrified me. I could not finish the whole thing. And I stopped watching horror movies until I was, I believe, 21 or 22, which at that time I started going to movies by myself, and I would pick whatever horror movie they had that week. I always went Friday nights. At the time I'm living alone, so I would watch a horror movie and go back home at it will be 10:30, 11 at night. I all by myself, terrifying myself. But that's how I kind of killed that fear of watching horror movies and became a fan after that.
So you both we talked about how much we love horror, and I first I got to apologize for the sound mishap. I feel like that kind of derailed a little bit. I got to figure it out again. This is still a work in progress. I'm just some asshole that has more time on his hands than he knows what to do with. So I came up with this, and I'm kind of winging it as we go. So I apologize to everybody about the sound, but I think we're back on track now. So the appeal of horror movies, and this is one of the things I'm going to talk with next week with Vince Wilson and Paul Prater. They both run fairly successful ghost tours. You guys we do seance magic. I mean, you know, Chris, you do some pretty terrifying things, and Soydan, I've seen you do some of your seance stuff as well. People love it. People like that. What about horror movies, and what about horror movies, and what about ghost tours, and what about seance? Why do people like to be scared? I mean, Soydan, you talked about when you were a kid, you're watching a movie like this because you didn't want to see it, but you were peeking. What is it? What is it about horror movies? I mean, I don't know. Have you heard of the Serbian movie or Serbian film? Have you heard of this movie? It's called The Serbian Film, and it's supposedly the worst, most graphic, disgusting movie ever. And I think they made that to get that title. But you know, they were protesting The Exorcist when The Exorcist came out back. You know, they were protesting it because they thought it was blasphemy to God. But did that help or hurt? Why do people like horror? Chris, what do you think? Why do people come to your shows and watch you sit on or lie on a bed of nails and stick things in your face? And I mean, why? What is it the pure why we watch car wrecks, or is it more than that? Is it filling a hole in something that we need?
I think it's a bit of both. I think we all have a natural morbid curiosity, and I mean it's probably even on a subconscious level of like just needing to experience things that are just unexplainable or something that we just don't normally see. We need to put ourselves in that situation to experience it. And I mean, it's like riding a roller coaster. Why do we ride a roller coaster? I mean, you're traveling. Obviously, I'm not too far from Cedar Point. There's a couple of roller coasters where the G forces are equivalent to shaky baby syndrome.
Wow, yeah.
That's strong. I mean, it's like you're putting your body through this just for the mere thrill of it. So I think there's just this innate nature for people to want to experience something that's not of the normal.
So, Soydan, in your experiences, why do people come to your seance shows? Why do people like to be scared? Why do people come? I mean, you did the monster. Was it Monster Days or what was the Zombie Days in Cheyenne a couple years ago? You did a couple shows and you did a seance type show. What? Why do people do that? Why do people pay you to scare them?
I can answer for myself, and I think what like when I like it, for example, that could be a horror movie or a magic performance or whatever it is, any performance. I think it's the emotional hook you have in those like it's safe when you're watching it, especially if you're watching a movie. You're in front of your TV or in a movie theater. It's safe, yet the narrative that you fall into, I guess, catches you emotionally. Yeah, and I love Chris's roller coaster, metaphor. It is kind of like that. You're in that seat. Nothing is gonna happen to you, even though there's slight risk, I guess. But the thrill you get from it, and then when it plays into your fears, like for me, I like paranormal movies more than gory like slashers. I still watch them here and there, but they're not my favorite. I love paranormal. I mean, I'll choose paranormal horror movies over any other kind of movie. It's because we all have certain fears, and I think it's interesting to be able to witness them in a safe way. Right in front of us, it's happening, and we can experience, those emotions, and it just, I don't know what the right word for it is, but you know, you feel satisfied, I think, being able to feel those emotions just by, you know, watching a performance. It's not happening in real life. Like, I have a we're probably going to talk about this later on. Fear of afterlife, and my fear is, what if there isn't afterlife? And when you watch a horror movie, a paranormal horror movie, somebody coming back, but you know, you're expecting, in some of the movies they play it, you know, it's not the person you're expecting, but it's a demon, for example. That's terrifying to me. I don't know if it's possible in real life. I have no clue. But if it is, if it happens to me one day, and if it is a demon, that's really a terrifying thought to me. So watching it in a movie, it really gets me, and I'm interested in that subject.
So this is
I'm,
a good segue into something we talked about on the earlier in the week when we got together. Is, you know, people come to your shows, and Chris, I know you do. Now I gotta preface this with, I told you I'm a James Randi skeptic, so it's gonna sound like I'm being condescending, but I'm not. You do legitimate ghost hunting and paranormal research, correct? Soydan, you do seance shows. So people come to you, and they come to you with a predetermined set of beliefs. When people go on a ghost tour with you, Chris, or they watch your ghost hunting and your paranormal research, they are already preconditioned to believe what you're going to tell them. Correct? And Soydan, when somebody comes to a seance, they believe they obviously have something in them that wants to talk in the after. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. They understand what a seance is. So where do we draw the line as performers and also enthusiasts, and in some cases believers? Where do we draw that line? Soydan, you mentioned you go to a horror movie because you know you're safe. But what if one person at a seance wasn't safe every night and they took something home with them? Would people still do it? I don't know. But so people come to your ghost tours, Chris, and your ghost hunts and your paranormal research, and they expect to see a ghost, and they expect to be scared. But they also, it's a little bit more than going to a movie, like Soydan said, going to a movie and being safe. That, to them, that's real. So where do we as and I guess we have different opinions and different beliefs in it, but where do we as performers, not as believers and as practicers of the arts, where do we as performers draw that line of what ethics, of what is acceptable for our audience, our customers, our followers, whatever? So Chris, you know, I know that we've talked about this offline before, so I'm interested in your thoughts. Where do we draw that line on ethics and what is real and what is pretend?
My sense is it's a matter of the atmosphere or the setting of what's happening. I know to respect if it's a haunted location, and if it's to do investigation, I focus on the investigation part of it, and also knowing if people, like you said, if someone's not safe, I always refer to people as like, make sure that before you leave tonight, take a deep breath outside, clear everything out, and not to bring anything with you, basically, or take anything with you. But when it comes to performing, I guess it's a matter of once again, it's the atmosphere, the setting of what it's going to be. If it's a presentation, which most of it is set to a stage setting, it's not intended to be on that aspect of, I guess, the believer side of it. It's to be entertaining and engaging. It also has to do with storytelling as well. But with investigations, it's more or less focusing on the moment in the investigation, not focusing on myself. The investigations I've helped with, it's more or less guiding people through the building, setting a spirit box, asking questions, things like that, asking questions of the people going through the building, which they're pretty much free to investigate on their own. They're welcome to walk with me, ask questions of what we have experienced on our own investigations, But more or less, they kind of branched off on their own. They would want to know stories of the building. So I guess that's the main thing I see is when it comes to performing, is that it's the setting for a performance. I know it's nice to be able to perform in a place. And in fact, one of the places that we investigated was a theater in Detroit called the Bonstell Theater. And I had the opportunity to actually do a couple of small performances before each investigation. And obviously it's on the stage setting. They actually had seats for the audience to sit in. So there was a difference of the investigation and a performance.
So that's something that I struggle with. My story is I'm an autograph collector, and we talked about this earlier in the week. If I go into an autograph store or I look at a catalog of an autograph auction, and one autograph is a obvious fake, my opinion is the rest of them are fake. So when you're performing before a legitimate paranormal investigation, does that encourage or discourage? And it's a rhetorical question. I don't know. It's just something for us to think about. Are you seeding the audience? And I don't mean to sound like I'm picking on you. This is something I really want to know. But are you seeding the thoughts? I mean, Soydan probably knows my dear friend Marty Perez from up in Cheyenne. Marty is he's an investigator for I think it's the Cheyenne Paranormal something. And he and I got into a very fun, and I think you were there, Soydan, a very fun kind of back and forth about because I told him, he knew right away that I was a James Randi type skeptic and didn't believe because I didn't have the proof. And so we had a little jabbing back and forth during my lecture and during his lecture at the Cheyenne Comic Con a few years ago, that I guarantee you'll have a paranormal experience at every one of my shows. Can he do the same? Right? And so it's one of those fun things where we did a show last year at the 140-year-old Masonic Lodge in downtown Cheyenne, where they did a ghost hunt. And then I contacted the spirit of John Murray Spear from the God Machine, from the and so I don't know. It's something that maybe we as performers and you as investigators should probably think about. That we need to think where that line is drawn between performance and when we're trying to get legitimate research or something. So I don't know. That's a fun topic, and that we could probably go on for hours and hours. But we've got some other stuff. But I'm very interested in, and let me clarify. I am not a non-believer. I just have not seen it, and I need to see it. I have dear friends that have had real experiences. And I'm gonna ask you guys both about experiences here in a second, but I have dear friends that have real experiences that I can't say that's bullshit. I can't say, you're making that up, here's what happened. It just hasn't happened to me. So I wish that I'd have that experience. I wish a ghost would come to me. My problem is, and I was on with our dear friend, with our friend Vince Wilson and Vlad the other day on their podcast, and I talked a little bit about the problem with some of our fellow performers. That we perform ghost shows, and we say we're going to talk to a ghost, and we have direct access, and talking to a ghost, I believe, is about as close to talking to God as a human's going to get, right? I mean, that's more or less what you're doing, is you're talking to God. If you're talking to a ghost, and if you could talk to a ghost, what are you going to ask him? You're not going to ask them to find your goddamn card. You're not going to ask them what card am I thinking about, right? So if you have a chance to talk to God, why are these performers wasting that opportunity on sponge bunnies? Why are they wasting that on so that's where I have that's why I'm not allowed to go to magic clubs anymore. But so Soydan, what is your idea on the ethics? I mean, I know you've done seance shows. You probably have you've created one of the most, and I want to give you all the credit for it, but I also don't want to say the name of it because we have more non-performers watching than performers watching, and it's a part of my show, of every one of my shows, so I don't want to tip it.
I'm okay with it.
But you've created one of the most popular ghosty, bizarre magic routines out there.
So,
Right? So how do you justify your personal beliefs and your performance? And how do you? I mean, what are your ideas on the ethics of talking to ghosts?
well, now I'm able to tell you a good answer, and I'll tell you guys a little story after I tell you what I believe or what my ethics are right now. Um, so right now I can tell you just like when you watch a horror movie, let's go back to that, and stuff is happening to a certain character. Everything is real for that character as you're watching it. Stuff is happening and the character is, responding to whatever is happening. Whether it's silly, it's scary, or stupid, whatever the reaction is, it's happening to that character in that movie. When you come to my show, stuff is happening to me or one of the audience members, it is real. In my show, whatever is happening, it is happening because you are having real reaction, real emotional reaction to it. So it is real. When you go home, stuff might still happen and it is still real to you. But once my show ends, that's it. That's where my character ends. If
Okay.
you go home, you think about my show, and you convince yourself I have some special powers, and you call me, hey, can you get in touch with my dead uncle? The answer is no.
Right.
I can't. I'm not going to tell you, no, I can't. I have a better way to answer such request, but I'm not going to do it because I can't do it. And so that's where when it comes to ethics, especially with the stuff that we're dealing with, if it becomes too real to somebody and they think you can, talk to the dead, for better lack of term, I know I can't do it. Everything I do is fake, but I'm not going to tell you everything is fake because you might be believing it in your regular life. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to try to make you feel bad, however you feel about it. So, I'll kind of softly I will reject that request.
Right. And I guess, we've talked about this ad nauseum that amongst us, the three of us, and other performers and people all over, in our groups. Do we owe, and this, I don't expect an answer, do we owe our audience a disclaimer saying what we're about to do is entertainment? I don't know. Do we, I imagine, Chris, not a lot of, well, maybe some kids come to your shows, but your main our audience is not children. And Soydan, I know that your audience is not children unless you're putting a staple gun to their head at the Cheyenne Comic-Con. But so I this is just something to think about, and I don't expect you to answer, but do we owe our audience? And I'll answer. I don't know if we do. I think we have to just present what we do. Star Wars. George Lucas doesn't come out and say, "Hey guys, this is all make believe."
Exactly. I don't believe in disclaimers. As far as what we're doing. Hey, what you're about to see, everything is fake. I'm a magician, and you're ruining their whole experience when you do that. But like you were saying, when I do certain things, Chris probably will be able to answer that better. I know how he handles it. If there are kids in the audience and some of the things like staple guns and nails and such things involved, I do tell them, do not try these at home. And I actually tell them what is about to happen is real, because some of the things I do are not magic tricks. For real, I'm not lying about this at all. It is real. If you try it, you will get hurt.
Right.
So there's no other way. 100%, I guarantee you, if you try it, you're gonna get hurt.
Right.
So,
Well, and with what Chris does, I want to talk about this, Chris. What you do is you legitimately put yourself in physical danger every time you perform. I saw what you did in Myrtle Beach. And while on one hand I was that 11-year-old kid watching through my fingers, like, for fuck's sakes, you know, I mean, really, you know, but on the other hand, I know, I mean, you know, our friend Rich Nakata does Blockhead. His dad traveled to the circus as a kid with the Blockhead. I want to real quick before we get into this story. It looks like you're better to do so, but I want to say if you guys have any questions, type them on the Facebook. I'm looking over here at Facebook, and also Soydan has offered to do a Turkish coffee reading. It's more of a fortune reading, a life reading. In the tradition that his grandmother taught him. So if you're interested in that, chime in, and when we get to that point, Soydan's offered to do a reading when he talks about the book he's working on and some of the things he's got going. So Chris, you put yourself in physical harm every time you perform. So I'm gonna shut my mouth and I'm gonna let you talk for a little bit. But here's some things I want you to talk about.
Yeah.
I have seen in person a smash and stab go wrong. Yes, and it was good because the guy was really a pompous dick, so it was really kind of fun. I have seen David Copperfield stop in the middle of a bit and say, "I'm sorry, we have to reset." That's pretty heavy.
Wow. Yeah.
But I have never seen the level of risk that you do every time you do a show. I have never seen that go wrong. I imagine you have. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to refill my beer, and I'm going to watch what you have to do. Fire away, Chris.
Yeah, as I said, when I do also do some of the paranormal seance work, but what really got me started in performing, as I said earlier, was the sideshow. And one of the staples of the sideshow was invented by a gentleman by the name of Melvin Burkhart. He was a boxer who had suffered a several blows to the face and shattered his nasal cavity, which allowed him to do something quite similar to this. Using a steel nail, this is a 60 penny nail, and a hammer. But his nail, in fact, was about the size of a Sharpie marker.
Oh,
so there's no way I
geez.
can live up to a legend of stature. It's funny because a lot of people will think, well, it's fake. And I'll let them hold on to it, which is great because, like any muscle in a body, you can grab onto things. So in fact, you can actually create tension for the nail to come out instead of it just coming right out.
Chris, that is amazing. That is amazing. I have had 3 sinus surgeries in the last 12 years. The first one was so bad that the second surgeon referred to it as being butchered. So I don't know what would happen if I stuck that in my nose, but that is so we talked about this before we went on. I want to know the first time you did that. Describe the first time you did that. How did you get to that point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna try this?
Actually, I still have this. The first time that I did this, but actually what kind of got me involved with performing more was I started to see a young lady, and she knew a guy who laid on a bed of nails, walked on broken glass and stuff like that before I even started doing any of it. And we were at a Coney Island. And
well, of course. Right.
Of course, Coney Island. Enjoying a cup of coffee, waiting for our breakfast, and she was sizing up a spoon, just looking at it. And then she did something, and I was like, wow. And I thought, well, to be honest, I've actually had my nose broken 3 times, not on purpose, but which I think allows this to be able to be done a lot easier. So we were actually able to spoon inside of Coney Island. But that's why I learned, it's like, wow, that's actually not It's not that discomforting for me. It can be very discomforting for a lot of people, and especially those if you're not aware of the swabbing test for COVID.
Right.
Quite similar to something like this.
So, I asked this earlier, and if you don't want to say names, don't say names. I imagine that you have in your circles, you have seen shit go wrong. You have seen something go wrong. Give us a couple quick stories on when things go wrong. I mean, you see, you go online and actually what I did a couple years ago, I did a show. I don't know if you were at that show, Soydan, where I did a smash and stab routine at a theater show here in town, and in between I took an intermission, and during the intermission, I posted on my Facebook page a video of all the smash and stabs that had gone wrong.
Seeing that.
So that to kind of build the tension. So you've seen something go wrong. Tell us a few of the stories of things that went shithouse that you saw.
Actually, this happened to me personally. I was doing a bed of nails routine with a couple of performers that I've been working with, and a lot of people. I don't know if you're familiar with the bed of nails. I mean, it's a bunch of nails laid up. I lay on it without a shirt. And typically what's done is a cinder block is placed on my chest. And then at the count of 3, cinder block is broken by another performer while laying on the bed of nails. And the bed of nails is simply physics. You can land a bunch of eggs as well without the eggs breaking. But while this one particular time doing the show, it was a different gentleman swinging the sledgehammer, and he decided to improv of telling the audience, okay, on the count of 4, 1, 2, never mind, smash. So typically with the bed of nails, I get ready to take the blow one number prior to the last number. So I wasn't ready. It literally knocked the wind out of me. Cinder block pieces kind of, because I usually will put my hands up just before that hit, had a piece of block fall on my face. It was a little discomforting. I felt out of place for about a week after, to the point where I actually went to the ER and had x-rays done.
Wow.
Just to make sure everything was okay.
How do you explain that to your insurance company, right? I mean,
I was trying to explain that to the doctors.
Right.
Wait, what?
Right.
So,
Well, when I did my smash and stab, the first theater show I did here in town at the Moxie Theater, I asked for volunteers. I had several volunteers come up to set the knives, and I did the under the bags where they could move it around. And my physician was one of the volunteers. My doctor came up, and he's like, "I got to advise you, don't do this." I'm like, "Well, I guess if I'm going to do it, it's better to have you up here, right?" So that's I mean, that's not something. So if a kid comes up to you, young kid, mid-teens, comes up to you and says, "Hey, I saw your show. I want to learn to do this." What do you tell them? How do you set them on the path to learn it correctly? To learn it, somebody comes up to you and says, I admire what you do. This is something I want to do. What advice do you give them?
When it comes to the circus arts or the sideshow stuff, I would recommend seeking out professional help and mentorship. It goes even with magic as well. You need someone there to guide you and teach you the proper ins and outs of things. I'll be honest, I was kind of more self-taught. But after seeking out the help of Harley Newman, it was funny because when I showed up the first night, we sat down, we're both having a beer, and he asked me, he flat out asked me, "Why are you here? I've seen your Facebook page. I see you're doing the blockhead, you're doing bed of nails, you're doing fire eating. Why are you here?" And it was, to be a better performer.
Right.
Just because you can do something doesn't give you a reason why it's not a reason for you to do it.
Right.
So taking lessons with him. It was quite an honor too, because it was literally a one-on-one.
Right.
There was supposed to have been another performer there with us as a group, but it was literally a one-on-one the whole weekend, and yeah, I took it a lot. And
Well, if there's some guy that if you had to pick one person to learn this from, I mean, you kind of found the guy, right? You kind of found the guy.
Yeah, he lays on a bed of one nail.
Right. I'm familiar with that. There's that famous Harley Newman poster, and if I can find it, I'll post it. I'll post it on that. It's the red backed poster. I'm seeing it. I'll find the picture. There's a Harley Newman picture with it's printed in red. I'll find it and post it on the Facebook. So Soydan, nobody has chimed in that they want their readings done, a coffee reading, other than somebody said they finally get to see it. It was Everett Brookings said, I want to finally see the coffee reading. So Soydan, you're working on a book about coffee readings, and you and I have talked about this for several months. I'm also trying to put together the mystery collection book. And as we've both discovered, that writing a book is fucking hard. It's not as easy as you think. Because the ideas are up here doesn't mean they come down here as easily as you think they would. So you're putting a book together based on the coffee readings that were taught to you by your grandmother growing up in Turkey, correct?
Yes.
So let's see if anybody has. So if you give us kind of the story about the coffee readings, I've not heard about coffee readings. I've heard about. I've got several friends, and I talk about this every show. And somebody complained 2 weeks ago and said I talk about New Orleans too much, but whatever. I love it. It's my favorite city in the entire world. I have friends that do tea leaf readings. So tell us a little bit. I'm not really familiar with coffee readings. So tell us a little bit about that your grandmother used to do this legitimately. I mean, your grandmother, this was part of her life and part of her heritage and part of her culture. She taught you. So how did you get to here with that?
So, I'll tell you the quick story about it. In Turkey, usually in the morning, women, we live in apartments most of the time. There are houses too, but mainly in Turkey, there are more apartments than houses. So, especially in cities. So neighbors will get together in the morning to have coffee, and they will do their kind of morning gossip as they're drinking. It's something social, gathering basically. It's part of life. And I always liked sleeping in, because I'm going to elementary school, and my life is so hard. I'm so tired all the time. So I always like sleeping in, and they will always get together early in the morning. It will be like 8:30, or 9 o'clock, and I'm still trying to sleep. And imagine they're in one room, I don't know, 6, 7 people talking. There's no way to sleep. You hear everything, and you wake up. I would always get grumpy. Well, I still am, I guess, these days too. When you wake up from your sleep with noises, and I would go in there. There's one thing though I always remember that kind of changed my mood: smelling that coffee, and I knew what was about to come after that, because they would start with drinking tea, and then they would end it with Turkish coffee. And for those of you not familiar, it's kind of similar to espresso, but it's not filtered and it's not brewed.
So let me interrupt you real quick. A couple years ago, I took my family. We went to we were in Istanbul for a day, and we were in Izmir for a day. And I think I talked to you before, and I said, "What do I do? Where do I go?" And you told me where to go in Istanbul for a legitimate Turkish coffee. So I hauled my then probably 8-year-old and 15-year-old daughters and my wife to this place so I could sit down. Well, and they didn't want one. And I sat down and I followed all of your instructions, and I ordered a cup of coffee the way you told me to. And I got to tell you, it was different. It was different. So
it's strong, and a lot of people doesn't like it because of that, and I don't blame them. Really, it's strong. But yeah, so I would smell the coffee, and I knew they were gonna do reading. And to me, I don't know what I, I was always from, I guess, day one. I was always skeptical about fortune telling or the other world, or stuff like that. I can say I'm somewhat spiritual, but I always have, I always question things.
Mhm.
It's really hard to convince me to something. I have to experience it for myself. Like you were saying it earlier. I kind of like that too. I'm just on the other side of the fence, compared to you right now. But I have that. I always question things. I don't want to believe something just because I'm told to do so. So I I never believed in fortune telling. Yet some of the stuff that they would say, and whoever is having the reading, how they would respond to it, it just always blew my mind. I mean, think about it. These are all neighbors. They're not there to have their reading get done or anything like that. It's just they're doing it as a fun thing to do. It's one part of entertainment, I guess. And nobody dwells on it either. There are some people take it really seriously, but most people doesn't really dwell on it. It happens right there and there, and they move on to their lives. So I always thought, okay, maybe it's not real, but how do I explain the part when one or two things just dead on, and they're very specific things sometimes.
Mhm.
How do I explain that? To this day, I don't have an answer for it. But that's what got me really interested in watching my grandmother and my mom doing this. Um, I just, kind of start learning and, asking them, how do you do this, or what do you do, when this happens or whatever. I learned it, but it's not something, honestly, I don't do it for a living. I don't do it. I wouldn't do it for money. I have to say that. It's just part of my, like you said, it's a heritage, family heritage, part of my culture. That's what I like about it, and that's why you don't see me doing it all the time.
So I have a volunteer. I have a volunteer. Somebody has chimed in on Facebook and offered up to do it. What do you want to know about this person? I mean, I obviously you're not going to look this person up, because I have a great story about the one time I've had my tarot cards read, and I'm going to save it for. I've asked this tarot reader who did my reading. I've asked her to come on the show, and I think she's very politely said no. But I've asked her to come on, and she's ignored me. So what do you want to know?
We don't really need to know anything.
Okay.
If they can respond to you at least, to the stuff I'm saying.
Okay, so that they know that I'm talking to them, it's CLJ. You'll know what I'm talking about. We have so these are the questions. So if you want to chime in with the and Soydan, you're not watching this on Facebook Live, right? You're just watching the screen.
No.
Okay. So we're gonna do a reading for our friend. The initials are CLJ. And
can we do that right now or later?
Let's do it now. Can you do it now?
Yeah, I guess we can do it now.
We're at about the halfway point. So if you need it, Chris, Soydan, you guys need to take a break. Are you okay?
I'm good.
All right, Chris, real quick, what are you drinking? I got to ask, because somebody always asks me what I'm drinking. So,
I'm drinking Two Hearted.
oh, that's one of the absolute best beers in the world. My guy that I get kegs from, the liquor store in town, emailed me this week and said, "Hey, I got a keg of Two Hearted," and I turned it down because it was the full 16 gallons, and I can't do it. I can't do a 16-gallon keg of beer, so it's just too much for me. So, but that is. Bell's is one of the best breweries in the world. So,
I'd have to say though, during the fall and winter months, I'm more of a New Holland Dragon's Milk fan.
Yeah. New Holland Dragon's Milk is a good one. I'm doing. I just picked it up yesterday, and embarrassingly, I don't even know where the brewery is. The brewery's called Jackie O's, and it's Mystic Mama from Jackie O's. It's actually getting hard to find kegs now because no breweries are are making kegs because there's no restaurant business because of what's going on. So a bar here in town was selling some of their kegs, and so I picked this one up. Soydan, we have a woman named Jerry Cranmore that says, "I can't wait for your book." So I think that means hurry up and do it. So okay, so CLJ, are you there? Post on Facebook that you're still around. And Soydan, what do you want? What do you want to know?
I don't really need to know anything. I'll just explain why the cup is like this upside down right now, so people know what's going on. Assuming probably almost nobody watching this right now has never seen it, and so basically, before we started, I made some coffee, and this is the one I drink. And the one thing that you do, if you are going to do a reading with that coffee, before you close it, you, well, so I was we were live while I was drinking it. As you're closing it, you kind of get in the intentions of you're going to do a reading for, a certain person. But normally it will be person will be drinking the coffee and you will do the reading for them.
From their coffee.
Yes.
Okay.
Since that's not possible, I had to drink the coffee and get in the, I don't know what the word for it is, but kind of, having intentions. It's kind of almost like a, I guess it's kind of spiritually, you're, focusing on whoever that person is going to be. It doesn't matter, like I said, I don't need to know who the person is, because it's not going to be, and I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but it's not going to be like a tarot reading or anything like that. I don't have to get any reactions from the person. I'm just going to look at the coffee grounds and see what they show me, and try to interpret them in a way, hopefully it'll be meaning to the person. And if it's not, too bad on my part, I guess. And we'll first start with the coffee cup, and then once I'm done with the coffee cup, then I'll look at the saucer, and you guys will see how that's happening. So right now, I'm just gonna open it like this. I'm just gonna make sure nothing is dripping from it. And I will actually try to show you guys, I don't know, I'll get up and do this. Let me move my tray here. So you guys have some kind of idea what I'm looking at here.
It's really dark, so yeah, but you can kind of see it. You can see it a bit, but
it will be, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So right now, probably it looks like a bunch of coffee ground runners,
Yep.
which that's what they are. But I'm gonna try to look at it and see if I can see any images, in which I already see some stuff there. But I gotta look at it first. Let's see. And I always look at, this is kind of common practice. You do want to look at it before you say anything. And if you see a lot of negative stuff, you don't want to go along with it. You don't want to bring somebody down. It's just, in my opinion, it's terrible. And another reason behind it is this goes into, it's going to tie into magic in a way, abracadabra. And there are a few different translations of it, but basically what I say, happens. It's same thought frame. You don't want to say something bad and then it happens. So if it's all negative, you just don't want to do that at all. But let's see what I'm seeing here. Well, there's a few different things, but interesting. The very first thing I'm seeing looks like, what was the name of the person again?
Do you want the name or just the initials?
Just the initials is fine.
CLJ. CLJ.
CLJ. So looks like this CLJ is going to have some, I don't want to say vacation, but some travel. Um, but the interesting thing is, two, it seems like two of these. So there's like multiple travels I'm seeing in future, and it's near future. Um, Two of them, uh, this is weird, and I'm just gonna go ahead and see it.
No, do it.
Two of
Yep.
them, two of them seems like it has something to do with some kind of secret they're holding. I'm not sure if that the secret I'm talking about is like a single secret there is, and it's gonna cause these two travels to happen, or if we're talking about two different ones, which almost seems like I want to say two different ones. But these secrets are about themselves and involve someone else, and they are going to talk to that person, but the end result of it is good.
Okay.
So even though I'm saying they have a secret, it's there is nothing negative about it. It's something positive is going to come out of it one day once they talk to that person and tell them whatever that is involves them. It looks like it's going to lead into some kind of travel. I don't know, it could be work travel or vacation, but in it, the end result of it is happiness, basically. But it's so weird, and I'll tell you guys what tells me about the secret part. When you see a rabbit in the coffee grounds, and I'm
Okay.
seeing one rabbit looking straight at me, and another rabbit, I should say a rabbit head looking straight at me with big ears, almost if you ever watched the movie Darko,
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko, it almost looks like this rabbit. And other one is the regular rabbit you would know from profile view, from the side view. Which that's well, I don't think I ever saw that before. So that's really interesting. But like I said, it has something to do with a secret or two, and both of those, or that single secret, has to do with that person and someone else. It involves two people.
Okay.
But however, on one of them, if there is two, one of the travels also ties into. It looks like the person is in the middle right now, in the middle of a predicament. They just have to, maybe it's the person that they're going to talk to. They have to pay attention to their friends, and I'm saying in quotes, in friends, because one of those friends is not very friendly. They're sort of acting like a friend, but almost feels like they need to pay attention to their friends a little bit better.
Okay. So CLJ, if this means anything to you, post some stuff on the Facebook. I'm interested. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. Keep going, Soydan.
But yeah, it is. There's definitely somebody is just acting like a friend, but there is somebody else with that person, and I'm trying to. There's somebody else kind of looking over this so-called friend, and I think they are going to interfere, or they're gonna do something to stop that friend.
Okay.
Which ends up that travel I was talking about is going to happen, and I think it's due to this one friend. They're going to kind of interfere, and they're not gonna let this person do any harm, basically.
Okay.
But hopefully they're gonna find out who that friend is. um, I can definitely say somebody is um, just acting like a friend.
Okay.
Um,
Well, uh anything real quick, anything else that is glaring, and then I'll tell you a little bit, and we'll kind of wrap this part up. But anything else that is glaring that you need to that you see
what
that.
one of the travels, which there's some multiple ones I'm seeing, they have nothing to do with any of these circuits I'm talking about, might end up in I'm gonna call it a fortune. It doesn't have to be monetary fortune. It could be spiritual, but there's something good gonna come out of it at the end of it. They're gonna gain they're gonna gain literally they're either gonna gain money or they're gonna gain some spiritual happiness. They have something to gain from that travel, and it has nothing to do with either of those secrets. It's something going to do on their own, basically.
So I got it. I know CLJ peripherally. We have a mutual friend, and I know her just a little bit. And I'm anxious to talk to her about this because there are several things that I know about CLJ that you hit on, and you and I didn't talk about this before. You had no idea what you're going to do, so I'm interested. So CLJ, just give me a thumbs up if I can read your comment out loud. Tell me if I can read this. This is and Chris, while we're waiting for that, Amanda Anderson says that is a pretty royal looking chair you got going there.
Yeah,
That little throne chair.
Yeah, it does. So all right. So can I read your comments, CLJ? Can I read them online? I mean, everybody go read them anyway. But can I talk about them? And I keep looking over here. I apologize. I have not, because I'm a tech moron. I have not figured out how to see the comments on this screen, so I have to have two computers. So I'm just going to do it, and if it costs me, she's mad, whatever. CLJ says, looking at taking a job out of state, but haven't told the current employer. That is one of my secrets that I'm holding right now.
Oh wow.
So right. So that's a pretty. I mean, so anyway. So tell us about the book. When I know you've gone to, and you're also a photographer. You've taken some amazing photos. I have one hanging in the office back here that you took of some trees. One of the things I decided to learn during this downtime when none of us are performing is photography, and Soydan has been a huge help on learning and teaching me about photography. He sat down with me on a Zoom meeting one day and talked my dumbass through aperture and f-stop and all that stuff that I should have learned in high school photography. But high school photography is just about getting in a dark room with girls, isn't it? So Soydan, give a quick plug to your when do you expect the book? Talk about a little bit about your photography and what one of the things I think I said to you guys this morning is, what does the next year look like for Soydan? What does the next 5 years look like for Soydan? You've got the book, you've got the photography. What's and Chris, you're next. So start thinking about that.
So it's gonna get a little bit personal, but I share more with you than I do anybody else.
So let me preface this. Soydan is one of my favorite people. There is not a kinder person in the world than Soydan, and Soydan holds a very special place in my life, and Soydan has been a very good friend through rough times in my life and rough times in his life. Soydan and I have leaned on each other quite a bit. So Soydan also made me this really cool beer holder right here that's a Ouija board. So don't tip any two secrets. We have to keep up our appearances that we are hardcore assholes, Soydan. So
So I had to give that back to you. Yeah, you've been very kind to me since we met. And I told you I was gonna tell you. I don't exactly remember how we met. I mean, it was through Facebook, I believe. First we, add each other, and then.
Well, yeah, and I think you posted something about you created something for Aiden. And Aiden and I were working on a couple things together, and so I liked it, and I sent you a message that, hey, I'm buddies with Aiden.
But I was gonna tell you a little funny story about Aiden and you. So we did, meet through Aiden, obviously, as you said. Um, and so we used to jam with Aiden, Dan Jasperson's another magician in town here in Cheyenne. Reed Barrett is another magician here. He used to be in Cheyenne. He doesn't live here anymore, but to me, it still feels like that. Um, he lives in Colorado now, and he became a jet pilot recently. Um, so we used to gather together and we would do jam sessions. And Aiden is keep talking about this guy named Paul. Nobody ever heard about him. We never see him talk to you on or interact with you on Facebook. So there's somebody named Paul. It's like your imaginary friend Yehudi. He has an
my imaginary friend.
Paul.
Right? Yeah.
We're
Aiden's
like,
imaginary
"Who is
friend
this guy?"
Paul. Right.
Yeah, he's like, well, I gotta go to Greeley and meet with him at his office and this and that. And we're like, okay, yeah, sure. Like we're like, he's keep telling us, and we're working on this, and all this and that, and we're like, yep, sure, yep, there's a friend. Yep, oh, okay, we believe you. We don't really believe you at the same time. But it was kind of funny how he was keep talking, and I'm like, who is this guy? You became a mystery, I guess. Goes along with your mystery collection. So, but finally, we got to meet. But so yeah, I thought that was kind of funny how we thought you didn't exist for a while.
I'm not quite sure I really exist. So.
But so anyway, so the book I've been working on, but a few personal stuff happened, and one of them is actually, I'm gonna mention this one. My grandmother passed away about a year and a half ago. I hope I can talk about this without crying. That'll be nice. But the nice thing about it is, when I first decided to write the book, which was because of them, I wanted to, well, let's rewind a little bit further back. I had a phone conversation with Eugene Berger. Those of you watching who are magicians, you know who Eugene Berger is.
And that's about like Chris getting to talk to Harley Newman. I mean, really, if there's somebody you want to talk to about what you're going to talk about, that's the guy.
So, and those of you who don't know, he was a great magician and influenced so many of us. I can't even. If we try to write the names down,
he literally wrote the book.
Yes.
Right.
So,
That's my current read.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome. And on one of our phone conversations, we start talking about Turkish coffee readings, and he said some stuff about it which got stuck in my head, and one of them was, why don't you do it in your performances? Which I didn't tell him at the time. Now, I don't want to do it because it's too personal to me. I don't want to do it in a like a theater or stage setup. It's just, I don't know, it kind of loses, I guess, that specialness of it.
Right.
But it got me thinking, what can I do? Sorry about that.
It's me. I'm calling you, Soydan. What's up, buddy?
Give me just a second. Okay, there we go.
It's a survey, I'm sure. Sunday afternoons is a survey.
But got me thinking. I said, okay, I have this heritage, but how can I put it out there without watering it down? I don't want to turn it into a magic trick. I don't want to make it any special than what it is to me, which book idea came to my mind. I'm like, why I don't write book and I can share it with other people who might be interested. I'm not writing this book to become a writer, which you said it's so hard to do. I have no idea how writers keep writing books and keep constantly publishing it. It's just, I don't know what to call that. It's amazing. And so that's not my intentions at all, and I'm not gonna, obviously I am going to sell the book because it's taking so long and it's so hard to do. I would like to see something coming from it, so obviously I am going to sell the book. However, it's not to make profit or make living from it. Obviously, I just
Well, and
want
I want to
to.
interrupt real quick. And one of the reasons why I'm putting my book together is I've traveled with my show, and magicians come to shows, right? So I want documentation that this shit belongs to me, right? And I think I mean, so do you laugh because we've had this discussion 30 times. But I think what you want, and we've talked about this, and I hope I'm not tipping too much, is this really is an honor and kind of a tribute to how you grew up with your grandmother, and and those sitting at the kitchen tables where you were in the background and she and her friends were sitting there doing this, and you could smell the coffee and hear a little bit of the conversations. So I think that's to me that is the love of your project, and that's the most admirable part about that, about the reason you want to get this book out, and the reason you should get this book out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's least I can do. And if anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is a oh shit, I'm drawing a blank right now. The name of the writer. Um, so I'll just say the quote. They say we die twice in this life. Once when we actually die, and then once when people stop talking about us. Um, and that's kind of the thought of the book. If I want to kind of make it immortal, I guess, my memories and my mom and grandmother's memories that I had with them. That's the least I can do for them. I mean, they've done so much in this life for me, and I did maybe friction of it for them, and it's nothing. So.
Well, and you're carrying on a tradition that with iPads and the internet and all the shit that's going on now that may be lost. I mean, it may be lost. And fast forward, 25, 30, 50 years after you're gone, somebody's going to be at an estate sale and find this book. And I've talked about this a bajillion times. If you have not seen the movie The Red Violin, it is why we do what we do. And I won't get more into it because I think we talked about this earlier in the week. Yes. It is the future of when we're long gone, of the stories that happen between here and then. So I'm looking forward to the book, and I hope that anything I can do to help you with the promotion of the book and getting it out and getting it in the world. I'd love to have you down to Greeley to do a book signing, and we will absolutely do whatever we can to get that book in the hands of many people as we can.
I have to mention that originally I thought about making the book in more towards musicians so they can pick it up and do it, but the amount of work goes into doing the reading, especially if you're gonna do it somewhere else for for I don't know, let's say it's psychic fair or something like that. There's too much work goes into it, so the people who are gonna actually do it, gonna be probably a small portion of people, and I know some people just want to have the book just to be able to read about it. Because I've had conversations with mainly magicians, but one of the things I was gonna make it towards magicians, and I changed that thought completely, and it's actually due to a few of my magician friends. They said, "No, don't do that, please." Just
well, I think
as if you're writing for anybody.
You and I talked about it, and I said I think this could be your scholarly contribution to the art of magic with a K. I mean, your art. What are your thoughts? I mean, Chris, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, the contribution of this is more than a trick. I mean, so many people want to buy the fucking coloring book, right? That's what they expect out of any book that says magic with a C, is they want that fucking coloring book, And I think that what Soydan is talking about here is a bigger deal.
It is. It goes along the lines of like with tea leaf reading, pendulum reading, tarot reading, cartomancy in general. It's just any form of divination. I mean, I mean, I personally have not seen a book on Turkish coffee reading, which that's why I'm really looking forward to your book.
So that means now you've sold 2 copies, one to me and one to Chris. So get it done, buddy.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to price it in a way. It'll probably be two different pricings if you want to buy it in bulk, and if anybody wants to do like back of room sales. I'm gonna try to make that happen if anybody will be interested, because I heard from a few people that they would like to do that.
So what? I'm going to put you on the spot here, as I did with Keith Olson last week. Um, when's this book going to be done?
I was planning to get it done this year, so I want to get it done in 2020. I don't want to say in the book, written in 2021. I don't want to see that.
All right.
And I did promise a few times that I supposed to be finishing it by now, but with everything is happening, it's just like one after another. I'm like, come on, give me a break.
Buddy, I hear you. And I gotta give Soydan some more props, and then we'll quit rubbing each other's backs. Soydan works in the pharmaceutical industry. He works for a pharmacy, and so he is on the front line of this COVID deal, and he is dealing with it every single day. So it is not like he's like me sitting in my basement drinking beer, thinking of shit to do. Soydan is out there fighting the good fight and doing the real deal. So hats off to you, buddy. I love you, and I think you're one of my favorite people in the world. So Chris, 1 year and 5 years. What do you, I mean, now this COVID deal, I know you and I've talked a little bit about this. This COVID deal has really sidetracked a lot of us. It has sidetracked a lot of us. And so it has stopped all live performances. It has stopped, and it has made a lot of shitty online performances. Right. So what are you working on? What are some of the things that are coming up for? And I got to ask you, did you give yourself the Big Icky nickname, or did that come?
That actually came from a magician friend of mine, Josh Wild. He was with it was a trio of us performing, and we actually did a small run around the Great Lakes and through Michigan, doing our stage show, which was fire, juggling, sideshow, magic. And he was keeping a daily journal, and he wanted to keep it somewhat ambiguous. So he came up with the moniker, the Big Icky, because he could never pronounce my last name, and kind of taking the same letters.
So for the record, pronounce your last name, because I asked you to spell it out. So yeah. For the record, pronounce it so everybody can find you on the Facebook.
Yep. The American pronunciation is Bogucki, Bogucki. The Polish pronunciation is actually Bogucki.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, that's where that came from. The Big Icky was just he told me about him keeping the daily diary, keeping it quite ambiguous of who the performers were, and I loved it so much at the time because I was focusing primarily on the sideshow arts, that I asked if I could take it on, and then that's kind of where it landed. But since it's I've been focusing more on the mystery entertainment, and also tarot readings and palm readings and things like that, which I've done. I've studied tarot since I was in high school, studying different. When I was explaining that I went to a Catholic school, and
I'll bet that went over well. Tarot reading at a Catholic school.
Oh, I didn't do it on the grounds, but it led me to looking into other theologies and other beliefs and things like that, and I was drawn to the tarot, and I kind of amateurly just picked them up, studied them, and have all my life. It kind of just sat in the back burner. Same with the palm reading and things like that. It never really took it forward until the same magician, Josh Wild, he kind of introduced me to the knowledge of bizarre magic, or what's known as bizarre magic, and I wasn't aware of it at the time.
So what do you think? I hate to interrupt you, but I had this discussion recently with Vlad and Vince Wilson. What do you think about that title? Do you like it? What do you think about bizarre magic? I have my own gripes with it, but I'm.
I probably believe with you that even on my business card it says mystery entertainer.
Okay.
I like that idea because it's hard to explain. Like, well, if you use that term, bizarre magic, what is bizarre magic? It's so different, and it even just picking up Eugene's Burger, like I said, I was reading that recently. It is a bit dated because he mentions that there are the three major characters, I guess, within the performance, and I think it's expanded since then. I think it's become extended more to being storytellers. It's not being the Van Helsing. It's not being the dabbler of the occult or strange things happen to this person. It's like it's us as human beings. We are storytelling creatures.
Well, and I think we, I don't know if anybody listens to the podcast Lore, Lore with Aaron Mahnke. It's my favorite podcast in the world. I went and saw him when he was in Denver about 6 months ago, and he opened up with a bit about there is nothing more human than the need to hear stories, tell stories, and repeat stories. And that is one of the struggles that I have, that I imagine the both of you have with what we do. I think bizarre magic I don't like it. So I've tried to come up with a tagline for my show, and so what I've come up with, and I hope it works, it has so far, is an evening of intimate mystery and illusion.
Yeah.
And it kind of describes what. So I didn't mean to derail. So please continue.
Where was I going?
Talking about the bizarre magic and not wanting to be.
Yeah, yeah. Josh introduced me to it, and I found that wow, there's actually a focus of performance with my knowledge growing up in my high school years. When I was studying different theologies and things like that amateurly, but looking into things of like altered states of consciousness, psychometry, New Age beliefs, and things like that, and seeing that there's actually a performance avenue that encompasses that as well. And I thought that's great. So that kind of set me on that area of performing. So I guess I'm at a point in my life in performing that I have a split personality. Because I have the sideshow, corny aspect. I mean, it's a bit more like Addams Family-ish. Little comedy, little off, dangerous, disgusting. But then I also have the mystery entertainment, which is it's a bit more of the seriousness of the stories being told and experiences for the audience. But I think that's what the mystery entertainment needs to focus on, is the experience for the participant, or for the people that are there. It's their experience, whether it's something that's happening to them in their hands or something that's happening to them within their mind. It's the experience that we are giving them. That I kind of enjoy in that sense.
So what does the next year look like for the Big Icky?
Okay. The next year, I'll be honest, it's kind of up in the air because I am a full-time performer. As what we're experiencing now, everything is on hold. A couple of things have trickled in, but haven't been solid. So I have been focusing more on, I guess, learning more stories, especially within my state alone, because I believe that with being a mystery entertainer, it's like you need to kind of focus your performances on your surrounding environment, whether it's the location, the building that you're in, or the state that you're in.
Soydan and I live in the Wild West. We know about that.
But living in Michigan, it's quite interesting because I mean we have the sinking of the Eleanor Fitzgerald ship, Great Lakes.
And you've got a lot of the Native American heritage and the Native American lore that comes through. So I think we talked about that maybe on the first episode when somebody asked me if there was anything that was too. I mean,
I think that's a little too much to touch into on myself. I respect other people's beliefs in that sense of that. That I'm not going to tiptoe into the Native American culture. But I mean, Detroit has a lot of superstitious lore as well. I mean, we're home of the Nain Rouge, which is a little red dwarf that was spotted by Cadillac, who founded Detroit. So and there's actually a whole special of lore on that particular little imp. And what's funny is that we've been holding annual parades called the March of the Nain Rouge, and where we'd be marching him out of the city of Detroit, because it's believed if the Nain Rouge is seen, something very bad is going to happen to the city.
Okay.
And ever since the parades had started, we've actually seen more of a surgence within the city. Like more small shops opening up, it was becoming kind of more a destination place. Instead of people being like, oh, you're going to Detroit? It was kind of like, no, we're going to go to Detroit. I mean, we have our own, like, during the winter times, we have an ice skating rink, and everything is open to the public. So it's a kind of weird, I don't know if it's just the intention of the energy of driving out the Nain Rouge, which caused this intention energy to be focused to the city, to see this resurgence. So the city itself is now striving with this imp being forced out, but it's also being focused by the people within the parade, the people that attend the parade. We're focusing all the negative energy out to bring in new positive energy for the city, which I find quite fascinating on top of that. But going forward for this next year, I'm just focusing more on developing different parts for a show. I mean, I have a 1 hour show that I've performed numerous times, and I just want to be able to kind of, especially with living in Michigan, I want it to be centralized more on Michigan, and not just different things here and there. I mean, the typical, like, Jack the Ripper or Edgar Allan Poe.
Right.
Doing some diving, I found that Michigan was supposed to see, I believe it was 68 passengers from the Titanic were supposed to arrive in Michigan, and only 18 survived. Wow.
So,
and one of them was a young man by Frankie Goldsmith Jr., who grew up not too far from the original Tiger Stadium off of Michigan Avenue, and he recalled when he was growing up, whenever someone had hit a home run, the cheers of the audience took him back to that night sitting in his lifeboat, hearing the screams of the people in the water.
Wow. Yeah, I hope Zeke Powers is watching this, because that guy is completely gay for the Titanic. So if not, I'll have to make sure I tell him to watch it. So Chris, East Coast Spirit Sessions in January. Let's cross our fingers it happens, and then we can hang out again.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So we've got about 15, 20 minutes left. I got to give a shout out to a friend of mine, John Bentley, just joined us. John Bentley is one of my favorite people in the world, and I met John in Peru, and I just have to give him a shout out. He was the first person he was the second person to kick into the WD French fund. So we're hoping, our fingers are crossed. We have plane tickets. We're going to go see him in September. We're hoping to go to the UK in September to see John. He just chimed in. So John is one of my favorite people in the world. So I just wanted to give JB a shout out. So real quick, here's some rapid fire questions. And last week I asked Keith, so I got some rapid fire fast round questions. And I asked him one, and his answer was like 4 minutes long. And I wasn't going to stop it because Keith is awesome. So real quick, Soydan, what scares you?
Well, like I said earlier, I guess I hope there is an afterlife, and not being able to find out. that kind of scares me. I mean, if there's no afterlife, we're not finding out. there is an afterlife.
Right. Chris, what scares you?
Being forgotten.
Yeah.
I think my especially after when I was 14 years old, I saw the movie Jacob's Ladder.
Yep.
Tim Robbins, and the whole idea of clinging on to life and the struggle between acceptance of your death and trying to hold on to what you are or what you were. And I think that actually put a pretty severe impact on me and made me think more of like. Also, I'm a believer of. My knowledge is the three deaths that we learn. The first one is the knowledge that we are mortal. At some point, we're going to die. The second one is that we're going to die, and the third one is when our name is last spoken by anyone. So, in that sense, we are forgotten, which that fascinates me and scares me.
You know, and that really, and I may have told this story before, but that really was the impetus for me quitting my my desk job. You know, I spent 18 years in finance, and I decided, you know, right before I turned 40, I decided enough. My kids, I don't want my kids to tell their kids or their grandkids, oh my God, you should have met my grandpa, because he was so good at balancing Excel spreadsheets. You know, I wanted them to be able to say, my grandpa quit a job to go tell stories, and he traveled the world, and he met amazing people like Soydan and like Chris and like John Bentley and all these people all over the world. He met these people, and he's got these stories, and these stories go up. So I'm right there with you. So next question. Last night I watched Uncut Gems. Have you seen that movie with Adam Sandler? Uncut Gems.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
I got to tell you, I don't know that I would recommend it to everybody, but it has been shaking in my brain all day. What is the most recent movie you've seen that you cannot dump? You can't get rid of? Or a movie that you would say, you got to see this because you can't get it out of your head. Fire away.
Gretel and Hansel.
I haven't seen that one.
I believe that's the last movie I watched, and it's not for everybody. I
Uh-oh.
tell you that.
Okay.
And what I like about it is they took that fairy tale and they actually told everybody as it is. It's a Grimm story. The
Right,
and
yeah.
Gretel, the actual story, and this is a Grimm story. That's what I love about the whole movie.
It's very timeless too. The way it's filmed, the cinematography is beautiful. But I agree.
Yeah.
Gretel and Hansel. Seen that one recently. I think the one that sticks out in my mind most is The Lighthouse.
Okay, so that has come up. I read last night after I watched Uncut Gems. I think it was the same people that wrote The Lighthouse with Patterson and Willem Dafoe, right?
Yeah, they were both in it.
Right. And I don't know how I feel about Robert Pattinson being Batman, but we'll see. We'll see.
It's interesting the way it's filmed too, because they filmed it in they literally boxed off the frame. It's not in a widescreen format. They use traditional filming. Same with lenses. They use some like interesting lenses for a lot of the cinematography for it, and just the descent of madness.
Okay.
That happens.
Okay. All right. So Chris, what do you? I think you told us already. What are you currently reading? You showed us, but I don't think everybody recognized it like I did.
I don't know if I should say or not.
Well, so yeah. So what are you currently reading? What is on your nightstand that you're reading at night?
Eugene Berger's Strange Ceremonies. I picked it up about 2 or 3 weeks ago and started reading it, and I set it down to do some cleaning and kind of forgotten about it. But other than that, I have a couple of other. I think Ghostland's another book that's on top of that I've been reading.
That's a great book. I read that over Christmas. That is a great book.
Yeah.
So I'm reading Batman Hush. I'm reading the Jim Lee graphic novel about Hush, the bad guy, the Batman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really good. I'm a complete Batman nerd. So Soydan, fire away.
Um, right now, I don't really have anything I'm reading, but a while ago from the library, local library here, I guess they were getting rid of some books, and I find this book. It's folk tales like the wolf and the what was it, three bears or whatever, the classic movie, classic stories. They find them from different cultures. And this is a children's book. Um, um, what I can't remember the name of the title. It's what is my name or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But they wrote it. They wrote it. They took the same story, or they find the same story in different cultures, and they put all that in one book. And there are like three different stories with a few different versions of the same story. I started reading that, but I haven't got to finish it. And it's kind of interesting to see how the narrative is exactly the same, yet the stories are quite different. So,
And also, Soydan, I saw you switched from drinking coffee to drinking what appeared to be bourbon.
yeah, bourbon colored Turkish tea.
So I thought about this the other day, and I thought, I think people that drink. Chris, are you a bourbon? Are you a bourbon or whiskey drinker by any chance?
Yeah.
I think people that drink bourbon are better storytellers. I mean, really,
thank you.
if you saw a guy sit down at a table with a glass of bourbon and an ice cube, you imagine that guy's a pretty good storyteller, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love bourbon. I don't know what it is, but you know how much I love bourbon.
I gotta tell you, I'm right there with you. I'm a bourbon nerd, and I've got a collection that is borders on obsessive compulsive. Um, it's embarrassing the bourbon knowledge that I have, and that's actually funny. I've run this setup by a couple people, some magicians and some friends that aren't magicians, and they have said, the two things that I know a lot about. I know a lot about magic, and I know a lot about bourbon whiskey. And I've had two or three people mention to me this week that I should have this setup, and I should have another buddy sitting next to me, and we should talk about bourbon. So we'll see. Maybe that's something that I've thought about. I even registered the name, and I don't know Spanish, so I'm not going to say it correctly. But the Spanish word for witchcraft is like bujera, something along those lines. Bujera and bourbon. I have the Facebook page for that. So we'll see. So Chris, we've got about 5 minutes left. Your website is mysteryofmadstone.com.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about that and how people can find you and how people can keep in touch with you and find out what is in the world, what is coming up in the world of the Big Icky.
Yeah, the website is mysteryofmadstone.com, and that comes from a folklore belief of a particular stone that would be found inside of an animal is boiled in milk and then placed on an animal bite, which was to reduce infection, which was scientifically proven it was rabies. So it was helped to cure people of rabies using this stone. So I chose that moniker to be able to not only through experience but also help people, because I also do tarot reading and palmistry, and I believe readings are there to be able to help people find the right path of their life, be able to heal them from past experiences and not focus on the past and focus on the now. So that's one area you can find me is on that. Also Instagram, Mystery of Madstone, Facebook, known as the Big Icky on there. Also my actual name, Christopher Bogucki.
And I will put links. I will put links on the Mystery Collection Facebook page tonight.
Yeah, and that's about it. Those are the only things I got going. I'm not really pushing anything except for looking forward to performing, because that's what I enjoy most. I enjoy telling stories, engaging with people, learning about people to carry on their story, as well as carrying on my story for them.
So, Chris, I got to tell you, I extend this offer to very few people. but you have an open invitation to come to Colorado anytime you want to come visit. The first thing I do when I have out of town visitors come visit is I take them to the grave of W.D. French, and we pay tribute to Mr. French. And then there's another tomb not too far from there that we keep a little bit secret, but we'll show you someday. So you have an open invitation to come to Colorado. We're about 45 minutes from the Stanley Hotel, the world famous Stanley Hotel. And I just found out. So Soydan, we talked a little bit about this. There was a guy that was hung in Cheyenne. That was quite a big deal, and he's buried about 30 miles from me, and also about 2 hours from me, one of the Manson victims is buried. So Colorado's got some cool shit going on. So Chris, open invitation. You are part of the collection, the mystery collection. Anytime you want to come to Colorado, you get out here, and we welcome you, and we'll take care of you. So again, mysteryofmadstone.com, and I'll post all this stuff on the Facebook here shortly. So, Soydan, what do you got? What do you got to plug? You've got the you're a great photographer, and you've got is it Soydan on Facebook? It's just Soydan, right?
Soydan. If you're interested in my photography and other things I do, you'll see my picture kind of looking into the lens. It's Soydan. You won't see anything else after that. But if you're interested in my magic, Mysteries of Soydan is the Facebook page for that. And I'm on Instagram. What is my handle? Let's see. Soydan5610 is the Instagram.
All right. So Soydan wanted to do
something happened, by the way.
I'm sorry.
Before we got live, something happened, and I didn't tell you guys. And I'm kind of puzzled. You were talking about WD French. You sent me this. I don't know if they're gonna be able to see, but the picture over here. And
yeah, the cabinet card. Yeah.
Grave dirt normally in front of it. Right now, it's on the floor. Somehow, I don't know. This is one of those shelves that you can put plates on, so it has a groove. And that's where this thing sits. Somehow this knocked the grave. I had to fix it earlier while we were live. It knocked the grave soil down. And it was kind of interesting. I mean, people are not going to believe me. Probably I made.
Well, and I just got a question from on the did I end up getting the brand? So I talked about this right at the very beginning. It's a several step process. So I have filed the first set of paperwork and sent in the $200 check for the initial research. It looks like it's a 3-step deal to get the WD French to own the brand. So I have found a person that is going to actually manufacture the steel brand for me. So I got to come up with a routine for that. And I have made the ridiculous deal that if I can raise $1,000, we're at about $350 now. If I can raise $1,000, I will donate anything over what it costs to the Weld County Food Bank, and I will get the tattoo of the brand right here. And I also went ahead and committed my friend James Corbin from New Orleans. He will get the tattoo as well. He doesn't know that, but I hope he's watching because he's going to get that tattoo as well.
You guys are not getting branded, actually?
You know what? Soydan, you're not the first person to bring that up. Fuck no. That looks like that hurts. I can tolerate a tattoo. I'm not getting fucking branded. I'm not getting branded. So that answers that question. So looks like we're right at about 2 hours. So if you guys have anything else we want to talk about, I'll let you guys get back to your Sunday afternoons. I do appreciate you guys, not only Chris and Soydan for joining me, but everybody else. You guys, this is I really am a 14-year-old kid that looks for the approval of strangers, as I can imagine Chris and Soydan understand. We as performers have really took a big punch in the nuts the last 10 weeks, 2 months, and it has been really rough. my family doesn't give one fuck shit about me, and they've heard all the jokes and they've heard all the routines, and what we do is for you guys, and what we strive for is to get out into the world. And I know that James Corbin's wife just commented, "Wait, what?" Yeah, I committed him. Ruby. He's doing it. He's doing it. You know, I had somebody tell me a couple weeks ago. I mentioned something. And they sent me a message, said, "Don't get political." You know what? What's going on in the world right now sucks. It really sucks. Specifically, what's going on in our country absolutely sucks. And I don't want to distract you with my 2 hours of this talking about magic and talking about ghosts and talking about booze and tattoos and all the stuff we talk about. I don't want to distract you from it, because it's not politics. It's really it's humanity. And so all I can ask of the people that are out there, just be nice. Just be nice to each other. We're only here for a short amount of time, and what happens after that, we've talked a little bit about it today. But we're only here for a little bit. So if you can help somebody and you can make somebody else's life a little bit better, like Chris and Soydan have made my life a little bit better, just do it for somebody. It doesn't cost you anything. Just be a decent human being. And watching the news this morning, my wife and I just shook our heads. We can't watch this anymore. We can't. And it's an ugly world we live in now. And I'm hoping that we come out of this better. And I'm hoping that we come out of this understanding that as the three of us, you know what? The three of us are fucking weirdos. We are. We're absolute fucking weirdos. And we have found our tribe, and people love us, and we love people. So it's it is what it is, and I'm not going to get too political, but just be nice to people. Just be nice to people. You know, you guys have been great to have on, and I'll give you guys a few seconds to talk about. Everett Bookings has posted a lot on this, and one of these days, I swear, I bought your Travelers books, and I think you're great. One of these days, I'm going to get you to say something nice about me. I really am. I'm going to get you to post something nice on Facebook, as opposed to telling me, kind of giving me what a shithead I am. So Chris, real quick, 30 seconds. What do you have to say to the world? We got a couple people watching. What do you got to say to the world?
What I have to say to the world right now is what matters most is kindness. Kindness to yourself, kindness to others, and understanding. We need to all be understanding of what's going on. It's not just not the COVID thing, but all of a sudden the resurgence of what's been happening in all the different major cities this past week. Kindness and respect. That's pretty much all I can say is we need to have kindness and respect for one another. So that way we'll be able to make it.
Soydan, you come from a world that Chris and I don't understand. I mean, Turkey has been in war for what, 500 years? You know, so tell us a little bit. What do you have to say? You got 30 seconds. What do you have to say?
All I'm gonna say is, and I am gonna talk about what's happening right now without mentioning anything, but what is happening right now, or with the COVID, or anything before that, anything negative, is because of people who doesn't give a shit anything but themselves. If we will listen a little bit more and pay attention to around us, none of these would happen. It's as simple as that. It's not the people that are bad. It's not the people that are good. The ones that doesn't give a shit about anybody but themselves are the main reason why what's happening right now is happening. If we could just pay attention just around us, you don't have to pay attention to 2,000 miles away from you what's happening. Just around you in your neighborhood, if you pay attention what's happening, the whole world will be a better place.
Well, Soydan, I know you had some other things you wanted to get to, and we didn't get to them. So we will have you back for sure. This is not going to end anytime soon. So as long as I got people tuning in, I'm going to keep this going. So guys, hang tight. I'm going to disconnect from the Facebook, but let me see how I do this. I'm still new at this, right? I got to do this. So, guys, again, next week, Paul Prater, Vince Wilson. The following week, Dacre Stoker, the great great grandnephew of Bram Stoker. How cool is that, right? Chris, Soydan, hang tight, guys. All I can tell you is be nice and listen to Bill Hicks.